right, the time is now 6:30 p.m., so I'm going to call to order the Tuesday, June 28th meeting of the Tilton Planning Board. And the first order on our agenda is to review the minutes of June 14th, 2016. Everybody have a copy?
On page 2, is it Mr. DIR?
I believe so, yeah. Does look like,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Motion.
I have one thing, just check, I have one thing for you, that motion. On the third page, when I brought up the lake issue again, Mr. Turner said that he would put a shield on those lakes.
Yeah,
So I see it in a minute.
well, that's odd. It is in the notice of it's in the motion.
That's what I was looking for.
Shielding,
The shielding could be installed behind the lights.
Install shielding on the back, 2 light fixtures, top light pole closest to Morrison Avenue. I think I'd still like him in here as saying that they will
yeah,
do that.
unfortunately, I gave out all.
But it's right there.
Oh, it
It's
is?
right there.
Okay, it's on the top of page 3.
See it, Ken?
Oh, I
Like
see
that
it,
shielding
yes,
could
thank
be
you.
installed.
I was
Okay.
trying to read it quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, all right, good, that's perfect.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? One abstention. Me.
No, 2.
2 abstentions.
All right. Go for 3.
All right, next on the agenda is the continuation of subdivision. Proposal to subdivide to create an additional residential parcel at 246 Caleb Hill Road in the rural agricultural district. And I believe we have an application. Please note that. Has everybody had an opportunity on the planning board to review the application?
Yes.
Any discussion or comments?
This already has a page in front.
Yes, DOT approved.
We had to get approved for 3 residences on that apron though, and we got that from the state.
I was gonna say that's in
Should be,
here.
this should,
Yes.
Yeah, it's in here.
We're from lot 2. We're neighbors, we're going to be neighbors maybe.
Oh, are you doing the building right now?
No, we're not
Oh,
doing the building. I guess more or less here to try to find out what's going on.
Okay, we'll have an opportunity,
Okay.
you'll have an opportunity to ask.
First time doing it, sorry.
And that's perfectly all
Can we
right.
pass it down to the other meeting too?
We just need to make sure all this paperwork is in order, so.
Okay.
That's what we're reviewing now. Any other comments, questions?
Just a quick question. I don't know if it's easy, but in this Tilton Northfield Fire Department, so they refer to it as a driveway, but we're also talking about a private road.
Actually, an easement, an existing easement that goes out. I will own that easement all the way out where it turns to a private road.
We can have them come back out and make a new letter, because they want to make sure they go around the turnout.
Well, I just wanted to make sure it wouldn't be a future stumbling block, that's all.
What's this from Caleb Hill Road, existing private road? And existing private road, so this indicates that it's, are these two sides the same?
One's topography and one's,
Yeah, it says existing private road all the way through. And then it says end of private road easement, that is labeled existing private road.
I think when we came, it was a year ago or something, the engineer did have existing driveway on there all the way through instead of the word road, so that might be where it came from.
So which section is the private road and which section is the easement? Or driveway?
There's no driveway there
On
yet.
this plan, it's a little easier to designate. Basically, to here is the easement on paper.
So from Caleb Hill to that line
Correct,
is an easement.
correct. Which
Yeah,
which
this
gives access
side.
to these 2 houses and to this house. We've continued out further. There was an old logging road.
Yeah, the only part we cut was right there, because this was all here, all here.
So what's the difference between private road and private easement?
And private way, because private ways are two.
Which fine language is private way?
Yeah, on,
Yeah.
on the,
I think because of the length of it, we had to go to.
Well, the fire department is saying,
Driveway.
what, 2,000 feet? Yeah.
Fire department is calling it a driveway.
How long is this in its entirety,
It's
including the loop?
400 plus 1,014 plus 6, finishing 2,000. And it's about 2,200 feet in. There's access
Have a
for,
private road agreement that the selectmen did with them already.
there's enough access to drive a trailer truck
That
in
says road.
and around, fire truck, smaller, didn't have a problem.
Sorry.
I just,
That's why I brought it up.
I found it,
You
okay.
find it?
Agreement and release.
For them to have a private road.
So it is a private road. Is that all the way through?
Fire chief has asked that we label the road and that we label the
Mark
houses
Taylor.
so that he knows how many houses are back there, which will only be the 2 existing now, and the next one will be out back. No.
And it's a question of ownership.
Yeah.
So right now, according to this 2006 agreement, it's a private road. But where does this private road end? It's deed recorded book 227000035.
I believe
Is that
it
our-
Whose
ends,
property is that?
it ends here, is what they have.
No, that's
down.
easement,
Right, the easement, which they're calling it private.
but if
road.
that deed references our.
So in
deed-
2006, was this entire property,
Just talking.
Oh,
yeah, was this entire property this deed?
Yes.
Yes, that's our deed, yes.
Okay,
The whole
so then
22
this-
acres, yeah.
As far as the town of Tilton is,
There's actually more road, this continues around, and there's road over here. There's more road, but whatever.
what does it state in the deed? Do we have a copy of the deed?
I don't think.
So it's still on the road versus way and.
No.
Basically, it's an easement that's granting Scott, my neighbor, access to his property.
Right now, the town's
this one.
recognizing it as a private road, not an easement. That's this
It's fine
agreement.
with me.
That's fine,
I mean,
that's totally fine. I take care of it now anyway.
Yeah, because one of my questions is, well, who's maintaining it? So,
Well, Scott
Like
does
this,
kitchen, he's
you
a
are.
very good neighbor.
Yes,
but
I have since day one.
it would be
The last
interesting
10
to
years.
see. Okay.
Well, when we do, if.
Well, the
if
fire
this gets
department
its-
is saying that it needs to be maintained at all times, so
Well,
that's part
certainly.
of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
just right in here.
It's written up in the memo.
Yeah. We're actually keeping the whole road and not subdividing any of the road to anybody else, so I know this.
Yeah, according to
We're way
this,
back then.
this agreement, you
Yeah.
are the owner of
Yes.
this road,
We are now.
with not less than 24 feet. Okay.
When Scott moved in, when he got his, we granted an easement up to that one line, so
It
it's.
says with all requirements of the roadway design standards within the subdivision regulations. Wow.
What you're asking for the relief
So-
from the payment.
Isn't that standards for a town road?
The regulations state that any driveway over 200 feet must be built to roadway standards.
Which all of it's pretty much 24 feet
But
except
it's
for
not
the
a
waiver.
driveway.
Hmm.
The agreement here states it's a private road.
Well, private roads have to be built to roadway standards also.
Okay.
However, they are seeking a waiver from 2 of them.
I saw that.
Yeah. Which we'll address a little bit later.
Small portions of wetlands that I don't want to touch. I could get his reg and fill permit, I'd rather not. I'd rather leave the wetlands alone.
And it's 17, 18 feet anyways, it's just not 24.
And the one spot, which was the other part for the waiver, is a rock ledge knoll that there's just no way of making it any wider.
And that's what, there's a picture of that in here. Isn't there?
Yes.
Is that the section on your end?
It's actually, if you look at the topography on this page. It's actually right here. There's a giant outcrop, which they use as a logging road, and they made a road over it.
So that's really on what's your section?
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you're the only one that would have to deal with it?
Correct. And like I said, you can drive a tractor trailer out there and turn around, not a problem.
How would you know?
Because I drive a truck for a living. And mine's gonna be coming home with me.
Just be a nice kid.
Anything else on the application? Anyone has any questions before I ask for a motion to accept it?
Making a motion to accept planning board 15-04 continuation of the subdivision. The application.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we've accepted your application.
Pardon?
Want to talk with this guy?
Okay, the only thing I'd like to say, since you have everything in front of you, is that one of the things I was gonna say is we're keeping the road. We wanna live on the property in the back, and we're subdividing the current property with about
5.22 acres.
acres.
And I'll
And we'll
back
grant
one up
them
to
the
16.
easement to the road too.
Can we speak for? Any questions before I open it up to the public?
I just want to tell you, you're gonna grant them an easement.
They need the access off of Caleb Road to the driveway. The driveway is only
It's
right
private
here.
road.
Yeah,
You've gotta call it private.
private road, I'm sorry. We're gonna grant the access to their
Private road.
driveway.
Within their deed or?
Yes.
Yes, yes. That's how Scott says we may have to change his verbiage when he sells.
Okay.
I work at a place where they do closings and the attorneys do the deed for me.
The 2 houses out front get a deed right to their home.
Okay. Because I'm kind of questioning that, because in this, it's a class 6 road. That's the agreement in here. The town recognizes it as a.
Well, it was a logging road at one time when they logged the
Right, but when you
properties.
signed this agreement in '06,
I never signed
from the
that.
point we're in,
That was
The
Karen.
deed was those
Content.
you signed this?
I believe it would be Karen Content.
Said owner of record, your name.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a selectmen's,
Yeah, that's the signature.
so they
So-
would reference the deed.
So the town of
apparently.
Tilton recognizes it as a private road, a private class 6 road.
Okay.
Which is not maintained by the town.
That's right. So, does there need to be an easement
For access.
to access a private or a class 6 highway?
Yes.
I don't
Because
know.
I think it's because
Actually,
we
I don't know,
own it.
I don't know.
Sure does.
Hmm.
I think so. I think it's
I
because we
think so,
still
yeah.
own it, not the town doesn't.
Well, town, well,
On my original plot plan, it
it's
says.
an unmaintained road.
It says
Yeah.
English on it.
That's a good question. But it's on land owned by someone, so in order for that,
For someone
to make
else.
clear, right, yeah.
Yeah, those roads go through.
Yeah.
You know, private road could be a class 6 highway.
It's not, that's not, yeah, private road is not a class 6
It
road.
says private road or a class 6 highway. in that.
Right, you can't be both, you can be one or the other, you can be a private road or you can be unmaintained.
thank you
public
for-
road. Yeah, yeah.
My confusion was.
So it should be either or.
No, it should be a
No, it
private
should be
road.
Okay.
or whatever, or, it's not and, it can't be
Should,
both.
should this memo from the fire district read private road as opposed to driveway?
My thought on that is, the fire department doesn't generally concern itself with classifications of, well, it's a land use issue, whether it's a private
Okay.
road or a driveway.
Okay.
What we needed to know from the fire department was whether it was gonna be safe, and I think that
Okay.
memo addresses
All right.
that, that's my thought, yeah.
Okay.
So the selectmen should have recognized it as a private road.
I think they did though,
I
right?
don't think-
In this agreement, it says or a class 6 highway.
It is a private road or a class 6 highway, it's a private, right? But I see what you're saying,
Or,
I mean,
should
maybe
cross
circling
out.
or, yeah, right,
Cross out one.
yeah, right.
I believe it's on the recording too, isn't it?
Okay, I'm good with it. Private road.
Okay.
Reading this now.
Seems less
Yeah.
problematic.
Now, the other thing I wanna bring up, I think you all have copies of the waiver, there are 2 waiver requests.
That's reasonable.
We wouldn't get involved in the paving of a private road anymore, would we?
Well, no,
Required
it's just,
in our
it's
subdivision.
required in the subdivision regulations,
Okay.
it's one of the roadway standards.
All right.
And, just as a reminder, past discussions we've had, the board has had with the applicant have revealed that sort of the discussion that it would most likely be acceptable to waive such a thing if, there were confirmation that it was gonna be done safely, and, we do have the memo from Mr. Bear.
All right.
He actually mentioned if all roads were, private roads were like that, he'd be happy.
And I think we discussed 2 meetings ago about that issue with the being 7/18 as opposed to the 24.
Correct. The rest
Do
of the
you, are you
roadway is-
recall that? We had a picture of it and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
There was numerous spots where 2 cars or 2 trucks could actually get beside each other. So if a fire truck had to have to pass another fire truck, it would be coming up.
Any comments from the planning board in terms of not granting those 2 waivers?
I think it should be very specific where we're granting the waiver for number 2.
When you say very specifically
Well,
as to what the
footage.
small section of road
Right,
is?
well, footage, how many feet are we
Okay.
talking?
Less than 200.
Yeah.
So less than 200?
Yeah, it's just, it's a small spot when you come over the hill.
And
It's
it's pretty much at this,
wetlands on one side and it's a
Okay.
cliff on the other side.
at this,
Yes,
at this line.
yeah. And then there's another little spot right here where it crosses over the wetlands. It's about 17 to 18 feet wide. 2 cars could probably pass each other on there.
There's the definition.
Okay, all right, good. All right, no one on the planning board has any more comments, we're gonna open it up to the public. Open it up to the public, any comments or questions?
Bill, wouldn't you live there? I'm cool. I just wanna know what was going on.
Yep.
No, we're staying.
No, there until I die.
It's gonna be a cabin.
a log cabin.
Nice. I think we met. when we
Yeah,
bought the
probably
property.
15 years, yeah,
You come
probably
walking
10 years
through the woods
ago.
while I was cutting wood.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
Opportunity to meet your new neighbors. questions, comments?
Is that road going in gonna be dead end?
No, it loops around,
You have a plan right now.
it loops around.
This
Right back to
forest
each
in the
other.
middle of the loop there.
So you guys own 246, the yellow
Correct.
house that's
Yes.
for sale?
Yes,
And you wanna build something in the back here?
yes.
So just one other lot is gonna,
Only
one
one
other
other
house
lot.
is gonna be?
Yeah.
On 16 acres.
I assume you're gonna be doing a lot of road work in there, right?
No,
No.
the road's already there.
The road was
From
there.
before.
Because I tried to drive in there the other day and I've got a,
SUV, small one, car. Yeah, it was bumpy the other day, I graded it again
And,
since then.
I wouldn't want
No,
to, I
that's-
backed up.
That's
I-
just a layer of ledge material that's been put down. There actually has to be DOT state spec gravel that goes on top.
Because it was a big piece of ledge that.
Yeah, that's
fell
from me,
on the
York raking.
corner and-
I have a York rake that I drag up and down the road to pick all the big rocks out. And basically, when I get done, it will be
I
smooth
didn't
as,
feel comfortable driving my car in there. I turned around.
well, it's private
I wanted
property
to go.
anyway,
Yeah, it should be private road.
you know.
I know, but I was coming to this meeting and I
Mhm.
wanted to see.
No, you're more than
how-
welcome to come out there anytime.
And there was no, I didn't see any sign saying it's a private road.
No, not yet. It has to be approved first.
Okay.
But it will be, have DOT gravel on it, it will be
But
smooth as a
there was
pancake.
no way I would drive my car out there.
No, I drive a truck out there
Two
right
trucks
now.
aren't gonna pass each other on that road.
Not where you were. If you go up further and in front of my driveway, in front of the house, there's enough room for two trucks there. And then further up, see, I've cut in this up here. It's all been cut in. You were over here, right in here. That's as far as you made it.
Yeah, I didn't get very far. I backed into your driveway.
Yeah. No, but yeah,
Is the trash brought out to the end, to
Yes.
Taylor Hill Road now?
yes.
Yeah, by four-wheel.
What?
The
By
trash,
four-wheel?
Yeah.
You take the
Tie
bungee
it
cord,
to
wrap
the-
it around the back of the four-wheel, and off you go.
because it's still a distance.
It's
So
still
you're
400
saying
feet.
there's not gonna ever be any more
No,
homes out in there?
not that I can think, see.
That's our retirement.
That's my retirement.
I think it'd be hard for somebody to have additional lots because of the wetlands. You can see the wetlands on there. Nobody could build on the wetlands.
This is wetlands over in here, and this is all wetlands in here, and it goes all the way. It's a little bit more right in here.
So it's Scott owns this.
Scott owns that, 7
side.
acres.
7 acres?
Yeah. And this gentleman behind me owns this parcel over in here, which is what, 13, 14? 13 and a half.
When you have, like, this is our name, but is this like telling us that we own, or we abut right here and then these people abut right here? Is that
Correct.
how it's,
Yes.
that's how that
There's a
is?
stone wall, right into here, there's a ledge, probably about 75 feet high. And then it travels down the stone wall, it's all surrounded by stone wall, pretty much, until I
So
abut
this
him.
This is all individually owned by,
Yeah.
that's funny.
There was 13
It's
of
right
us.
on the, on
I
Taylor
thought
Place.
this was
I
on the
thought that
side.
parcel of land went all the way out to Gary Daniels.
At one time it did, at one time this was 68 acres.
I know.
Larson owned it, and then Larson subdivided it into the 5 parcels. Me being 21.58, them being 13, Scott being 7, the new house that's being built here on 5. And then there's another house right here, I don't know, not sure how many acres they got.
Okay, are there any other questions from the public? Right, then I'm gonna close it to the public, come back to the planning board. I guess the first thing we need to do is we need to accept the 2 waivers, and I'd like to do those one at a time, so if there's any question in one in particular, that we need to add some verbiage to.
I make a motion to approve a waiver for paving on the private road.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. So that's approved. Tara, you have that?
Yeah.
All right, Catherine, would you like to read the verbiage that we were gonna say less than 200 feet, and then there was something else?
Well, what Steve said.
Hmm?
It's in the minutes, it's what Stephen described.
I do have a question. Is it really 200 feet or is it much less than that?
It's probably less,
Quite a
between
bit
the
less,
point
right?
where it
It's
gets
like a
narrow,
separation.
it widens out for probably 100 feet, and then it goes by the brook and the little wetlands. I didn't want to disturb the wetlands.
But the point, the amount of time that it spends traveling at less than 24 feet is it's over 100 feet?
It's probably close to 100
There's 2
feet.
locations.
There's 2 locations.
Okay.
There's about 150 feet where it widens back out, and then it goes back down again. I'd
Okay.
rather not do DES, dredge and fill, and
Oh, yeah.
ruin the environment.
Where it's
It
only
looks short to me.
affecting their property
Yeah.
and not the front property. But I still thought it would be important to kind of locate it for the future. That way if the
Actually, on one side of the road, we didn't know. it was
fire
wetlands.
department never had any issues with the road, they know we did that just because there are natural obstructions.
Actually, I'm gonna have the fire chief come out within the next 2 weeks to take his fire truck out back and be happy with it.
Well, he told me he has to do a pump truck every 1,000 feet or something like that. So we'll have sprinkler system in the house like we do.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Required.
So it's not,
Volunteers.
so you're requesting a waiver in regards to the road with requirement for a small section of less than 200 feet of the road where a culvert is and a knoll.
Correct.
They are approximately 17, 18 feet wide instead of the required 24 feet.
Correct.
Now, what was the other, you added something in there.
No, you got the wetland and the knoll, you said both of those.
Okay. So I'm gonna put wetland in parentheses for culvert, okay? That's satisfactory?
It's close to the culvert.
Yeah,
not
so it's
very
actually
close.
not, the
Okay.
culvert's actually wide.
Where a culvert and wetland
Yes.
Mhm.
are,
This is probably like 75 feet.
and a knoll, okay,
Stop.
all right. So I'll make a motion to request a waiver in regard to the road with a requirement for a small section,
You're not requesting the waiver, you're gonna grant the waiver.
grant a waiver. Let's grant a waiver in regards to the road with requirements for a small section of less than 200 feet of the road where a culvert and wetlands are and a knoll. There are approximately 7/18 feet wide instead of the required 24 feet wide. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? All right, so those 2 are granted. All right, now, next. Any more discussion before we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve planning board 16-06.
No, do it
No,
forward.
oh. 04.
1504.
1504. Make a motion to accept planning board 15 dash,
To approve.
to approve.
Proposal to.
Second, for discussion. Now, all of these documents still stand, the agreement signed in 2006, right? Asking a question,
Me?
Yeah.
The road agreement was not
Right.
signed in
Writing.
2006.
The road
All
agreement-
of
no,
what? What?
Oh, 16?
documents?
Yeah, you just
Oh, I'm
signed this
reading
2
the
months
date.
ago.
Yeah, I'm
Ah,
reading the
I was
date.
wondering why you.
I didn't wanna keep
I
reading
know,
the
I couldn't
dates.
figure it out. I thought
Ah.
maybe that's the thought I
I'm
was
like, I don't
missing.
remember having.
So, this still stands, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the, all of these are part of
A
this
lot of it.
agreement, right?
I would say, yeah, I mean, they're all associated, right? There's a driveway
Well, I'm
permit.
just saying, do we have to list them, the requirements of the fire?
Oh,
I mean, the driveway permit is the requirements of the board of selectmen, do we have to list all of those, or are they just part of it?
I think they're
Or
part
should
of
we
it.
mention them?
I think they're part of it. The
Along
only
with these
condition I was
agreements.
envisioning was maybe to reinforce the requirement that the roadway may be maintained at all times. But again, if you didn't add that condition, it would still exist.
That's my question.
Yeah.
And it's in it's in the requirement of the fire district too. That you
Right, but
maintain.
that's not signed by anything, that's
Yeah.
just.
More discussion? No? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, yes.
Opposed? Go that way.
What do you write?
Come back, join us. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I spent lots of barbecue down there.
Everybody.
Do you know,
Well, you
we
better
still
move,
have
I'll travel backwards.
people still knock on the door to go hunt folk there.
You know
They
what?
used to hunt
Can I tell them, go
for
ahead,
years.
park your car here, that way if you don't come out, I know to send fishing game in after you.
And I like it when we know they're there.
Well, that's how people ask me.
Yeah. Some of them will park on Caleb.
When I write a note, I put them on the car.
I know, I'm like,
When you what?
I write notes, put them on the car.
if they park on Caleb,
Yeah.
because I don't know if they're on our side or Decatur's side or they're yours.
Why do we have this?
You'll
That's
find
what
You'll
out.
find out very quickly.
Oh, it's not the
We
same
wanna make
address
it-
as this.
Meeting's interesting.
Oh, that's handy as can be, because I'm 3 years old. Shush.
Abuse.
All right, what don't you have? You don't have this?
No.
All right. Yeah, we were going to have a preliminary site plan conceptual consultation, which we're not having. Instead, I would like to have Dari sort of bring people up to date on what's transpiring with the zoning board. As you know, the zoning board does not have an ex officio as we do. And therefore, if we do something that is not agreeable to everyone, they can appeal it to the zoning board and get some relief. If the zoning board makes a ruling, the selectmen has a course of action that they can take, which will be happening shortly. So I'd like Dari to address that a little bit.
Yeah, so this preliminary site was for operating a motor vehicle repair and maintenance facility at 496 Laconia Road in the mixed-use district. That type of facility is not permitted per the zoning ordinance, per the chart of permitted uses. So the code enforcement officer, Al, instructed, upon learning that this gentleman wanted to undertake this its use, he instructed him, he said, well, you know, it's not permitted. However, if you choose to do so, you can apply for a variance. And the individual did apply for that variance, and it was granted. And it is the view of the select board that the variance should not have been granted. Variances are supposed to be granted, basically the decision whether to grant a variance is supposed to be made along criteria set by state law. There are 5 criteria. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the ordinance is observed, substantial justice is done. The 4th, the values of surrounding properties are not diminished. And then the 5th, which is generally considered sort of the tricky one, states literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. Now, what constitutes a hardship has been batted around by the courts for decades. However, there are some basic tenets. One is that if there are if the zoning ordinance creates a situation that sort of amounts to a takings and that you've stripped all value from somebody's property, then that's really when a variance should be granted. And the feeling of the select board was that in this case, the zoning board, that hardship didn't exist, that risk of a takings issue did not exist, and therefore the zoning board, the select board feels the zoning board overstepped ruled in error, and I believe, and is in the process of initiating or putting together a motion for reconsideration. So that's kind of the story on that. And with knowledge, I don't want to ramble. Does that sort of give you guys an understanding
Does
of
everybody
what's going
understand?
on there?
And it has some pretty broad implications too for other people.
Absolutely.
Well, the more the zoning board allows things in districts where those businesses are not allowed, it makes our zoning ineffective. It makes what we do
Makes it right.
almost
Yeah.
Yeah.
useless.
Is this video still up so we can watch it? The ZBA?
Is the ZBA video still
ZBA
up?
video, ZBA video is up, yeah.
I've been to several zoning board meetings when they've granted hardships, and I've questioned just about every one that they've granted. I mean, but it's me questioning. This one, the selectmen feel that some of their action needs to be taken, and I'm very glad to see that that's happening. Okay? So, just thank you, Dory.
Thanks.
If anybody has any questions about it, you can talk with Dory later. I just wanted everybody to be aware of it, though. The next is not on the agenda, however, on this piece of paper that you have, where it's now, I believe it's now the Patriot, it's now Channel Marine.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why Channel Marine is on here. It used to be the old Sears building, and Mr. Hildebrand would like to move Uncle Hildy's from current location to that location. So he's here tonight to just talk with us a little bit about it. It's not on the agenda, but as you know, there was a retail store there before, and there will, if he moves, it will be a retail store again. So, Mark?
Do I need to stand up?
You-
Well, I humbly come before the board without any notice for scheduling, but I feel like I'm well prepared. Very quickly, I've been at the current location for 10 years, employed dozens of people over the years. For those of you who have, I'm sure every one of you have been in my store, but we're right across the street from the Dunkin' Donuts that burned down. That property is under agreement, and it's actually being closed day after tomorrow. It happened very suddenly. Fortunately, the new owner has granted me the ability to lease part of the space for a 2-month period while I find a place to move to. And this whole thing has been going on since March. It's been delayed a few times. I've looked at a lot of places. I would love to stay on Route 3. I'd love to stay in Tilton. I've had a good relationship with Tilton. If you want me to get into what I've done in the community, I'll be happy to, but that's really isn't a matter with the planning board. I've looked at the Channel Marine place that you guys are looking at, and you know, it's been vacant for quite a while. What I would like to do is transplant and I did put together something for you guys. I basically just like to take what I'm doing, where I'm at now, and move it down there. And I can do it without putting in a huge warehouse space or anything. I have a fella over in the Andover area that has a big, I have a friend over in the Andover area that owns a lumber yard that has a lot of space, and I'd have the ability to store my back stock over there and just transport it as I need it. So I could get by with this facility just as it sits. If you well, first of all, let me say, I took the liberty about 2 weeks ago of approaching Al LaPlante about this. And I mean, I know Al really well, had to deal with him together. I said, is it a fit? Is it gonna work? Is it even worth going to the planning board? And about a week later, I talked to him, and he saw, from the zoning standpoint, and from his standpoint, he saw absolutely no reason. It's, you know, it's zoned resort commercial, which means I can display, just like Channel Marine displayed their boats out front. I can display my inventory. It permits outdoor display, outdoor storage, which I do with some of my materials. And as you know, if you've driven past my lumber yard, I routinely display material outside. I only do it 3 seasons out of the year for snow removal reasons. In the winter, the only thing you'll ever see out in front of my store is rock salt. And that's for 10 years, that's all. And at one time, wood pellets, but I don't sell those anymore. If you kind of flip back, there's a page that I pig-eared in that shows the existing floor plan. It's just a big storage, it's just a big 3,600 square foot area with a maintenance garage out back with some overhead doors. There's one overhead door that comes into the showroom itself. My issue with the space as it is I don't need 3,600 feet of showroom. And if you flip that page over, I can show you what my concept is for what I'd like to do with it. I'd like to take about 1,000 square feet and put up an insulated wall between, to divide the area. 1,000 square feet would be heated showroom. The remaining area would be unheated. We would have to put in lumber racks, and if you go further back in the pages I gave you, you'll see what the lumber, if you haven't seen lumber racks, you know what they look like. They're racks that you put lumber in. It's all a question of, the real only issue is how high you can go, and that's something like when we moved into Tilton, that was a discussion I had with Chief Ober. It's a fire department thing, and they want a certain space between where the top of the lumber is and the ceiling is. And it is a very high ceiling in that building. I didn't measure it, but it's plenty high for what I gotta do. As far as, I know questions come into mind, you guys have to do your due diligence. How many cars are there at any given time? We rarely have more than 3 or 4 cars in our lot at any time. So I could use a lot of the parking area space at the Channel Marine location to use as my outdoor storage. Because there is no roadside storage or outdoor storage like I have now. There's 2 driveways on either side of the building. So anything I put outside would have to go to the left or to the right. And most likely I would put it on the on the Mosquito Bridge side of the building, because the entryway would be on the opposite side. As far as transactions per day, we average like 15 to 20 transactions per day at the store. One of the issues with the property is it's 10 acres, approximately half of it is in Sanborn. And I did call Bob Ward today, the planning board chairman at Sanborn, because none of the property line is actually on this map. That's or the town line is actually on there. None of the building, and I think maybe just a tiny bit of the paved area is in Sanborn. The Sanborn part is essentially a swamp and can't be used for anything. And Bob's feeling was, hey, if the Tilton guys go for it, just come give me a phone call and I'll probably just, ram it through, basically. So I did my, I made sure to check with him, I made sure to check with Al. As far as load and unload, they unloaded and unloaded trailer loads of boats in there. As you can see from the photograph that Jerry gave you, it's easy for a tractor trailer to come in one road, go around back, get unloaded, and go out the other. Again, this deal's come together very quickly. I know that the planning board has to do its own due diligence, but my issue right now is because of the July schedule, the next meeting is August 9th that I would be able to come to, which is really pushing the envelope. If I have to wait till then, obviously I have to wait till then. If there's any way at all of, bypassing a site plan review, which Darren and I discussed today, I would greatly appreciate it. I've been through this a lot. I've had stores in other towns. I know that there's things that you guys have to do, but time is of the essence for me at this point. But I'll do whatever's necessary, whatever the planning board wants me to do. It's 6 weeks between now and then, and that's a long time. And it's a peak of the building season for me too. So every day is kind of critical. Does anybody have any questions for me? Because that's basically everything I was able to write down in 2 hours this afternoon after talking to them.
This is reserved commercial.
Yep.
Building enclosed within a building greater than 3,000 square foot floor area requires a special exception. Does this property have a special exception for that building?
I don't know. I can find that out. However, I wonder if
What requires a special, I'm sorry?
over 3,000 square feet
So my
of
next question
floor
is,
area. Now,
is
these,
it grandfathered, was it built before this was done? That's the other question.
yeah, I mean, so I can, if we want to, I can actually look in our file to see if we have that. But before I do that, I just wonder if the modifications that Mr. Hildebrand is describing might take it out of that, where
No,
it's
it
no
says
longer 3,000
Within a
square.
building greater than 3,000 square foot floor area.
I don't know, I
So
I
it
guess,
says the
sometimes I
building
interpret
is-
floor area to mean like sales floor area.
Well, I was gonna
but-
say, to me, floor area could be sales room.
Doesn't say, it says
Okay.
square foot floor area, which means the square foot floor area, according to this, is greater than 3,600.
But let's also
So-
add, if the last use
When was it
there
built?
was a marina that had 3,000, was a retail establishment with over 3,000 square foot of floor area and an outdoor display, can we not just assume, without me digging through the file, which I'm happy to do, but can we not assume that that use is legal non-conforming?
Legal non-conforming?
Yeah,
I make no assumption.
okay, well, I'm
How
happy
is
to
it
look.
Well,
built?
Sears had it before
I
that,
believe 03. Yeah, Sears was there.
and
before.
Sears had the same setup.
Yeah,
They used outside storage.
That's what I'm looking for, you're
Right.
built.
So, I would think that Sears definitely, as a national organization, would have complied with whatever was required.
We can't make that
They're not a
assumption,
national
we have no
organization.
idea.
No, but why don't you,
Okay.
how long would it take you to check it?
Hopefully
Let's
just-
do that.
But we're not approving it, or not approving
No.
it, so it doesn't have to be checked tonight.
No.
True.
But if it isn't,
Look,
then that's something that no, we're not gonna do it.
No.
Good point. Yeah, like,
Okay.
right, assuming you say, yeah, well, let's see where it goes tonight.
I mean, in
right.
2004, this square foot floor area, that's what it says it was built, might not have pertained,
Right,
who knows?
right,
So,
yeah.
I know,
For-
just gave you some work to do.
Yeah, no, it's a good, yeah.
But, you know.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly what it is. that
It's
you're-
something,
you're-
I don't, basically, the zoning ordinance, the charter permitted uses in the zoning ordinance says that in the resort commercial district, a retail building with over 3,000 square feet of floor area is only permitted through special exception, it's not permitted by right. But what we're saying is, well, what I was saying is, but if the last two businesses that have been there, have both operated, you know, with over 3,000 square feet of floor area and they did the outdoor display, then can we not assume that it's legal, what we call legal non-conforming? In other words, it was done legally, however, it is out of whack with today's zoning ordinance. But what Ms. Dawson said is, it's not necessarily something that needs to be answered tonight. You know, if you need a special exception, you need a special exception. It doesn't necessarily say that you need site plan review or not.
And we may find that it's a non-conforming lot, that when it was built.
Right.
That square footage might not even have done that.
Right, that's what, yeah, when I say legal
Or it could have
non-conforming, that's what I'm
special
saying.
That's the only thing that I found, I mean, she's gonna be selling stuff like
Yeah, just
everybody
like
else was
Sears
selling
did
stuff
and the Marine. Yeah,
and,
and we've had a similar situation with, and worked very effectively with the planning board in Sandwichton with Gear Auto. 'Cause
Yeah,
they have
he
a
brought that up right away when I talked to Bob.
Yeah.
you'll have to update the driveway permit
Mhm.
with DOT. And I don't remember if we had that one way in and one way out.
There's no signs there, there never were any signs there,
No.
it's in and out.
Well, it probably doesn't
Might
matter.
get
I
looked
don't
at
think it
Dunkin'
would
Donuts,
matter.
I don't think it would matter either. I went there enough when
I
I
go
was
to Walgreens
Sears.
sometimes and scratch my head
So-
about that in and out. But it makes sense.
No, it doesn't, but we worked hard on that, you know.
So now that I see it,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't see any reason why you should say
I-
that.
If I may ask, will there be any processing of lumber?
No,
No milling or cutting or anything?
no,
Okay.
in the back door, out the front door,
Yeah.
that's how I deal with it.
You said it was the same operation, right?
Exactly the same thing I'm doing right now.
I don't see any issue at all either. If we find that it is grandfathered, you'll check that out. That
Mhm.
wouldn't have anything to do like,
So
But I
the
see
site
no-
plan be required,
No.
This is the town line, I'm not sure why this lot.
no.
so this is something that can be done before the next meeting. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, this one's really fun.
So do my employees.
That's the one way to.
And my customers.
Are you sure? Because remember, we have to deal with the sign man.
They just gotta truck everything down there.
I got it sold down pretty good, there's not a lot to move. I've been working on it.
No, I think this doesn't make sense.
All right, does everybody hear what we're saying, that we do not need a site plan?
Yeah, I don't see
Okay.
that. Go
All right.
forth and sell stuff.
So this is something can be researched in short order and,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can figure it out tomorrow.
yeah, you got my business card there, maybe if you got a copy of that, Mike stapled a business card, everything, or.
Okay. I didn't get a copy of the handouts, actually, I don't think.
I'll give it to you, you can have mine, Dory.
Okay. I usually get all of them that are left on my table.
If you don't mind, James.
Okay, thanks. Thanks
Yeah,
for
they
that.
get a
Really
back.
appreciate that, sir. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Dari needs that one.
Oh, Dory needs this.
Sure, I'll be shopping.
All right, Dory, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you for standing back.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's some decent properties out there, but I think that one would be a slam dunk, I really do. It's just,
Good spot.
it's got a higher traffic count, you can see it when you come around where that Lord Hampshire Hotel is, I mean, you're looking right at the
Across the
place.
side of the other end of town.
and-
Yeah, we'll talk to Nick about Dunkin' Donuts on the other side.
Yeah.
He can get that in Captain's,
And I could put a much bigger sign on the place, I already talked to Al about that. That Channel Marine sign is puny compared to what's allowed, so, you know, I gotta work that out with him. But, so I'll need a driveway permit as well. And that's-
Well,
You
you
just
need
need
to
to
check
update
with
it.
DOT.
You just gotta let 'em know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
DOT will let you know that sometimes, surprisingly, they say, no, you won't need an updated driveway permit for something that you never.
so I go directly to DOT for that.
Yeah, I can give you their phone number when we talk tomorrow, or,
Okay.
you know, it's DOT district.
524-6667.
Pretty bad.
Joe, if you
We've
get
been
off
doing
the
this
ramp,
too
take
long.
a right,
I
take
have
a
to
first
get it
left.
memorized.
Yep.
Mike.
I will mention, when I went on your website, I saw you're looking for more members of the planning board, and it might be something I'm interested in down the road, so, you know.
Need more members,
Oh.
yeah.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Pull it up and see.
You're helpful.
I like to get involved. I mean, I was in Tilton Rotary for a long time. It's tough for me because I live in Center Harbor, and everything they do is on the weekend. And I'm like 40 minutes away, and I was raising, you know, my family and stuff. And I always felt bad because you'd have the fishing derby and all this stuff, and I could never really get involved. But I mean, something like this after work would be easy.
Do you still live in Center Harbor?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a town resident too.
Well, then I guess I'm not going to be able to help you out.
Thought we had a lot of them.
I know.
Center Harbor's
We're all
looking,
getting the
Center Harbor's
advertising
looking for
ready.
planning board members too.
Yeah.
We know a real estate agent who would be very happy to help you, I'm sure.
I got a house for you to buy.
Yeah, really.
Look at that.
It's
Closing
private.
agent.
I'm gonna have to drive through all that traffic
Duty.
in there.
I'm going to buy this place first, and then I'll look at it.
Right?
Okay, thank you all very much.
And thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah, take care.
All right, we have no correspondence.
Nope. No
Do we have any other
news.
business? Then I will entertain a motion to
Seconded.
favor. Aye.
My fault.
Boy, that
Like that?
Second.
was, you didn't talk so
Go
much.
buy it.
It's too bad that he lost
You
his
didn't talk
property.
so much.
Down the road a piece.
But that lady-
That Channel Marine's been empty for a while, so it's a good thing for us.
It is.
What's gonna go in where he is now?
One vision.
Really?
That's what